In addition to this active form of leisure, you talk what sounds like a controversial thing to an entrepreneur, find opportunities to trade money for time.
Yeah, I think this one is maybe a little counterintuitive, especially for people in the US who have seen how working more or spending more time on things can potentially lead to more money. I want to harp back on something you just said, though, about the
Okay.
stupid white ball, which is, I was talking to a psychologist for the book, and she sees a lot of sort of type A, overachiever, really driven, ambitious folks. And she gives them this advice to, like, if you want to cultivate other sources of meaning, you have to do things other than work. And her patients say, okay, great, I'm going to sign up for an Ironman, or okay, great, I'm going to read 52 books this year, and there's this way that we sort of quantify our leisure that turns even our off the clock free time into more ways of working. And I think one of the beauties of doing something like playing golf or, dancing or trying to learn the guitar without trying to be a rock star is these forms of play are sort of the opposite. They are grounded not in any sort of future achievement, but just in the present experience of, walking around with some of your buddies and hitting around a little white ball. And so even though we tend to sort of like trivialize these things of being like, oh, is the antidote to work just to like take up knitting? Like, maybe not, but maybe it is. Maybe it's just finding something for you to do, for you to figure out who you are when you're not being productive. When it comes to trading your time for money, there's been a lot of great research out of Harvard on this topic, and one of the ways that we tend to reward ourselves for being successful in the United States is by working more. Often the reward you get for your company being acquired or achieving the next promotion that you want is the demand on your time to work more and more. And what the researchers have found is that rather than trading that marginal dollar that you might make, you can use that dollar and instead trade it for free time. So I have a guy that I profile in the book who is a Wall Street banker. And one of the things that he does is he gets a babysitter every week just so him and his wife can go on a walk. And on one hand, it's like, do you have to be so intentional about going on a walk and spending some unstructured time with your wife that you have to, calendar it out and get a babysitter? But on the other hand, it's investments like that that actually lead to more happiness, that actually lead to our ability to continue to be productive. I think a lot of us have internalized this idea that the more time we spend working will necessarily lead to better work. And that's just not the case. Maybe it's the case a little bit more in an industrial economy when, you're making widgets on the assembly line, or there's like a more direct relationship between hours put in and the quality of your work. But in a knowledge economy where the coin of the realm is ideas and your ability to be creative and your ability to innovate, our minds need the space for ideas to bounce off of each other. Our minds need the space to synthesize all of the inputs that we're taking on a day-to-day basis. And I'm sure you found this as, a CEO and leading a company. When your days are just meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, there's very little room for you to come up with the actual $1 million ideas that might change the course of the company. But we have done that to ourselves. It's like our minds are these like Google Calendar modules that just stack without any space to breathe.